His name is synonymous with the sport of bass fishing. His achievements are legendary. And now, Dion Hibdon, part of bass fishing's first family, has designed the ultimate rod to allow you to skip your bait like you never thought possible. Introducing the Dion Hibdon Signature Series Hibdon Hammer Rods by American Spirit, designed with the highest quality components and special handles to make dock skipping easier than ever.
The folks at American Spirit came to me and we designed a whole series of technique-specific rods. There's a dozen rods in the bunch. They pretty much cover it. My babies are the skipping rods. The skipping rods is just something that I've done my whole career. It's always been kind of a deal for me to try to get my bait where nobody else has. So the skipping rods are my favorite. I've designed them exactly like I wanted them. Everything about them is just right for what I do. For years, I've cut the handles off. I've made my own rod, stuff like that. Now I don't have to. When I designed these skipping rods, the handle length is perfect for it and the action is perfect for it. And that's the two essentials of making a good skipping rod. All right, now I'm gonna show you how it's done. A bait caster is a little bit trickier than a spinning rod for one reason. You kind of gotta lift your bait when it goes in. So I go over the top of my rod and then I just kind of lift my rod tip up as it's going in. And what that does is it keeps your line up off of the water. Doesn't let your line catch in the water. The bait is actually coming up instead of going down. So therefore that's how I skip with a bait caster. One of the key things about this rod that I've kind of designed here is that 70-30 mix. You see I got about 70% backbone, but about the last 20 to 30% of the rod up there is tip. And what that does is when you're making your skip, it allows that rod to flex and it really makes you just don't have to use near the arm action that you do with a stiff rod. A stiff rod, you have to use more of your arm to do it. With this, with that little bit of light tip on the end of it, that just makes all the difference in the world in skipping and your accuracy and everything. I designed 4 skipping rods for American Spirit. 2 bait casters, 1 in 7, 1 in 7.5, and I designed 2 spinning rods, 1 in 7, 1 in 7.5. Spinning's a little bit different. Basically the same concept, still use about the same 70-30 mix. That little bit of tip gives you the castability and the flexibility up there that really make good accurate cast. This is more of truly like swinging a ball bat, making a check swing in baseball. And what you do is 2 hands is always better. One hand, you lose a lot of the control on the end of your bat. 2 hands makes you really control the end of your fishing rod. And the whole idea of it now is getting the right angle, to get it skipping in there, just like throwing a flat rock. The lower you are, the better you are. And with a spinning rod, it's more of a forceful deal, but you don't have to worry about backlashing with one of those. So there's a rod for every skipping situation. We get the right action from a unique 3-stage blank. It's strength, flexibility, and durability. That gives you your 70-30 mix, which makes for the better skipping rod. Keep in mind when you're skipping, the lure makes a lot of, a big difference too. You need to shoot baits in there that are more compact, just like picking the perfect rock to skip, baits with less appendages, things need to be short, compact if they can be. I like to keep stuff fairly small. That's actually the bait that I won the Bassmasters Classic on, a little hula grub. But the reason it skips well is because it's small, it's compact, it doesn't have a lot of big dangly legs to catch in the water when you're skipping it in there. So anything you skip, like I say, it's just like finding the perfect rock. We sacrifice nothing when making this rod. We use Fuji reel seats, Fuji tangle-free guides for when I'm making them little loop casts. It never gets hung around the guides. And I decided on my favorite jig color, a matte green pumpkin finish for the finish on the rod. I promise you skipping will catch you a lot more fish. So check out my Signature Series rods by American Spirit at your local tackle retailer.
The Hibdon Hammer Signature Series includes dock skipping rods, as seen in this video, crankbait rods, jig and worm spinning rods, jig and worm micro guide casting rods, an umbrella rig rod, and Dion Special micro guide flipping rod.